Welcome back, everyone. You're watching The Urban Debate. Love is love. This has been the queer community's banner under which they have been seeking the legalization of same-sex marriages. It's a very simple question of dignity and rendering the same social security rights to them. Today was the 6th day of the Supreme Court hearing the matter, with Solicitor General Tushar Mehta appearing for the centre. So right now, the centre is the one that is making its arguments. The petitioners have already done it. And today, the Solicitor General has introduced incest to the debate. Mr. Mehta argued in court, and I want to quote him now, "Suppose a person is attracted to his sister. Do we say that consenting adults can enter into activities privately, claiming sexual autonomy?" I want to give you a second to process this before I move further. Basically, what the centre is telling the top court of this country is this. What if someone pops up at the Supreme Court 5 years later, demanding for incest to be legalized? Mehta says, in that case, do the same principles of sexual autonomy apply and incest be given a green flag, a green signal? Realigning the argument, the Chief Justice countered that and said that even hearing a petition to legalize incest would be far-fetched and that it would fall under the ambit of reasonable restrictions that are prohibited by law. Essentially saying it's not possible. Concluding the hearing for the day, the Supreme Court said that queer couples need social security, which can be provided without the legal recognition as a marriage. So essentially, the Supreme Court is looking for options to see how this entire matter can be resolved. Okay, so here's where we are. Will legalizing same-sex marriages be out of the question? And to what degree will social security be granted to queer couples? Hearing in the matter will now resume on May 3rd, with the centre responding as to how these rights can be conferred without the legal recognition of marriage. As I said, that debate is going on. Everything right now that has been said is in the realms of observations. We'll be joined by Subhash Jha, who's an advocate, in just a bit. I don't think he's through right now. We have Paras Tomar, who's an actor, who's also been a journalist, joining us on the broadcast. Hi, Paras. Good to see you. Long time. Happy to see you smiling.
Good to see you too. You know, when I was reading about this incest thing today, I feel like the government makes these outlandish claims where they put us in any bracket which they think is just deeply out of the world. So when I was talking about this whole gay rights and gay marriage and this and that, now how does this bhai-behan ka pyar or bhai-bhai ka pyar come in? And then ironically enough, I realized we're on news networks, so I will censor myself. But even when that happened, I said the number of galis we have in India about like fornicating with your own relatives in this country in any case is a joke. Don't make us a part of it. So I was just like outraged. So I love how you said, let me take a second to just let's sink this in.
Yeah, I mean, many people can say it's outrageous, Paras, but, you know, the lawyer who will be speaking on behalf of the other side, Mr. Subhash Jha, who's just, by the way, late. He's very, very late on the show. I wonder why. His argument will be, well, you know, till some years ago, gay sex was illegal. It's been legalized. It's been legalized. What if tomorrow? The argument is this, right? The argument that the government is making is, what if tomorrow someone says, I have the right to do whatever I want to do in my bedroom with whoever, and, you know, if someone comes to us 5 years down the line and says, incest needs to be legalized because I have the right to do whatever I want to do, then what will the Supreme Court do? So that was the argument, Paras, that was being made by the centre. You may think it's outrageous, but I'm sure there are people who are watching this broadcast and saying, point to hai. Subhash Ji, good evening. You're very late on the show.
Good evening, good evening.
So, Subhash Ji,
I'm sorry, I was connected a bit late.
Go ahead.
There was some issue with the audio.
No, so I want to say
I can hear you.
Okay, I hope the audio is fine now. ठीक है, हाँ, Paras, बोलो.
I have to agree, and I like how you put it.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I like that check also because you know, I think part of our debate and conversation is for also to understand we need to have a broader perspective. And yes, actually, I love how you explained it to me, and it's really good putting me in my place, because true, about 10 years ago, things were different. 20 years ago, things were different. And fair enough. I also want to keep an open mind. If 20 years from today, for whatever reason, if incest becomes something that everyone wants to talk about, I don't want to then be the same kind of proof that people are being today saying it's not possible. So I do appreciate how you put that into context, because that's a very good and beautiful way to actually put it. At the same time, like today, when we're talking about these rights and we're talking about what we can do, and in fact, I want to ask Mr. Jha, because I love the seniority with which he comes, and I like Mr. Jha. I really want to understand, when you say a guy and a girl can fall in love, and you say a guy and a guy can fall in love, and it's a family matter. A lot of people have been saying, I love how today also the other part of the conversation was the fact that, hey, listen, the whole idea that this is a Western culture is not really true. And I like the fact that it's come in code. Ardhanareshwar is one of the most deeply worshipped forms of Shiva. I like the fact that the court today, there was actually a discussion about the fact that, hey, we've had hijras that the Western world calls transgenders, but they were a part of our fabric. So, badi achhi baat ye hue, and I like the discussion that, when a lot of people were saying this is against Indian culture, are not realizing actually maybe 5,000 years ago it was part of it. And then the people who are claiming that this is an actual anglicized influence, these are perhaps the people who are actually influenced themselves, because this was part of what we were about until the Western culture came in and said this is not okay.
लेकिन एक बात बताइए सुभाष जी, where did incest suddenly come in from? I mean, how is it fair to compare incest with same-sex marriages? Wasn't this a little atpata?
No, absolutely not. See, I tell you what is the argument in favor of the same-sex marriage is that about orientation. They have coined a word, orientation. So you have an orientation for something, and then you crave for it and you achieve it, and you want the Supreme Court to legalize it. Now, first and the foremost, let me tell you, this is not in the domain of the Supreme Court to adjudicate upon the issue with which the Supreme Court has spent 6 long days, and that to a constitution bench which is hearing the matter and spending a lot of judicial time at the cost of hundreds and thousands of pending matters. Supreme Court's last working day is on 17th of May, and thereafter the Supreme Court is going to close down for 45 days for summer vacation. Now, in a situation like this, the Supreme Court has embarked upon to hear these kind of a petition. Which in my assessment as a lawyer, I have got 12 petitions which are not being taken up for hearing because of matters like this that clog the system. Now, coming back to the issue, now if it is orientation for
Mr.
certain
Jha,
things,
you may think it's clogging the system.
I as a lawyer, I'm a lawyer.
You may think it's clogging the system, but me and Paras will not. My point is, just answer the question I asked you. Every time I call you for this debate, you say Supreme Court is wasting its time. No. We know what your stand is. Please tell me, where did incest come into the argument?
Absolutely. Yes. It comes like this, that it comes with the Supreme Court coining a word, or rather idea, of orientation, sex orientation, a man having orientation to have sex with another man. Now, for example, I'm a lawyer. Tomorrow I may have orientation to become a Supreme Court judge. Tomorrow I may have, or hundreds and thousands of people may have orientation to become a High Court judge or Supreme Court judge. Hundreds and thousands of people may have orientation to become Prime Minister of India. I mean, is it possible? What kind of argument is this? This is absolutely flawed argument, and this so-called orientation
Subhash ji, आप क्या बात कर रहे हैं? मैं आपसे पूछ कुछ रही हूँ. मैं आपसे महाभारत पे क्वेश्चन पूछ रही हूँ. आप मुझे रामायण सुना रहे हैं. What am I asking you? I'm saying, how is incest and bringing in incest connected to the debate which is currently underway in the Supreme Court? Mane kuch bhi. Gay sex has been legalized in this country.
I think. No, absolutely not.
These are 13 million of our own citizens who are coming and asking for their rights. Now you are saying, आज ये लोग right मांग रहे हैं, कल जो लोग incest करते हैं, वो अपना right मांगेंगे. How are you comparing the two?
13.
One is a crime and the other is not.
13 million people. See, absolutely, you are doing something which is against nature. Something which has been prevalent in the West. You want to bring in the disease into our country, and you want the Supreme Court to legalize it. What kind of argument is this? We will not allow these kind of a culture to flourish in this country. We
The
shall
Supreme
not.
Court of this country has legalized gay sex. How is it a
Even
disease?
if,
अच्छा रुक जाइए.
even if we are
Let Paras
required to,
respond.
even if people.
So, सुभाष जी आप ऐसी outrageous बातें मत बोलिए. इतनी outrageous बातें मत बोलिए. How is it a disease when the Supreme Court of this country has legalized it? Paras, you want to respond to what Mr. Jha is saying? Then I have a pertinent question to ask you.
मैं कहूँगा कि आपका argument या पारस का argument is outrageous है.
And when we're talking to a lot of lawyers, the one thing which is beginning to stand out, I think, to a lot of people like me is we are beginning to get scared if the legal system is being headed by people who have had minimal or zero interaction with my community. आपने क्या-क्या चीजें बोली and some of these are deeply outrageous and I hope your children will explain to you like I would have explained to my father. First of all, in 2018 ये चीज हम करके छोड़ चुके हैं. It's unnatural, it's a disease. ये वो तो खत्म हो गया सुभाष जी, उससे आगे बढ़िए. So the whole fabric of you judging homosexuality itself, I'm sorry, we've already crossed that battle, we won it, वो खत्म हो गया. Incest की तो जो बात हुई मेरे को उसका जवाब मिला नहीं, पर जो तीसरी चीज है which is so important is, sir, if the biggest legal minds in this country are still going out and thinking this is a disease when we've already crossed that barrier, when you're also saying, I don't know what you said about I have an orientation to become the prime minister, sir, ambition, career ambition and sexual orientation are different. I can change that I want to be a lawyer tomorrow, doctor tomorrow, merchant navy person, मैं जाके पढ़ाई कर सकता हूँ. मेरी जो orientation है मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ naturally. I don't choose whether I'm attracted to a guy or a girl, sir. मैं जब पैदा हुआ था मैंने नहीं डिसाइड किया तो मेरे को रणबीर कपूर ज्यादा प्यारा लगता है आलिया भट्ट से, वो ना अंदर से आ गया. Now the thing is, what you have to understand is, I want to ask you, Mr. Jha, because I really and I have followed your work and it's really incredible. मैं पूछना आपसे ये चाहता हूँ, have you ever had a direct interaction with someone who is part of the LGBTQ community? आप कभी किसी actual interaction किया है? Family में ऐसे कोई लोग हैं who identify as being gay or bi?
मैं इस तरह के विवादों में या इस तरह के विषय के ऊपर में चर्चा करना अपना समय व्यर्थ करना समझता हूं, क्योंकि मैं अभी भी मानता हूं अगर ये 2018 में आप कह रहे हैं कि ये अगर बीमारी थी तो ये 2023 में बीमारी है और 2043 में भी बीमारी होगी. ये बीमारी है, इसका इलाज होना चाहिए और इसके लिए सरकार को चाहिए कि वैक्सीन बनाइए. आप जैसे अगर 13 मिलियन पीपल या कल 15 मिलियन पीपल, इफ दे बिकम सिक, व्हाट आर दे गोइंग टू डू? I mean, what are you? See, you are suffering from this some kind of a disorder, and that disorder has to be cured by vaccine if required.
घिसी-पिटी बातें क्यों कर रहे हैं?
Don't spread this kind of a disease in the country.
Why this पुरानी घिसी-पिटी बात?
ये पुरानी घिसी-पिटी बात है.
घिसी-पिटी बात, ये तो सब हो गया ना.
मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूँ.
ये बिल्कुल घिसी-पिटी बात है. 2018 में सब सेटल हो गया.
Let me give an example of Belgium.
अच्छा मेरे को भारत से एक इम्पोर्टेंट सवाल.
Let me give you example of Belgium. Let me give you example of Paras. Can you just hold on? I'm giving an example of what happened in Belgium.
What happened in Belgium, sir?
No. United States, you know what is happening to the United States of America. We know all. Now let us talk of Belgium. What happened in Belgium?
What happened? Tell me.
So in Belgium, the entire demography has been changed, because of this problem. We don't want this kind of a problem to come in our doorsteps or other legalized by the Supreme Court. And petition is filed in the month of November 2022.
1 minute.
तो पहली बात तो मिस्टर झा जो आपने बोला ना,
सुभाष जी, let Paras respond now. You're saying, मतलब the things you're saying today तो are hitting it out of the stadium only, but Paras, go ahead. I do have a very important question. ये तू मैं के चक्कर में हम लोग फंस जाते हैं और important बातें पूछते नहीं है Paras. If you want to respond to Mr. Jha, you can. But my question to you was this. Today something very interesting has happened in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is asking the center, is there a way to give gay couples social security without them getting married, without us having to legalize gay sex unions, same-sex unions? Is that encouraging for you or is that discouraging for you? Do you think that's taking away from the main mudda of this entire lawsuit which is in court right now?
It makes me feel, जब बच्चे नहीं होते थे, when we were all very small, एक कोई 4 साल की लड़की होगी, उसका कोई 4 साल का लड़का होगा जो दोस्त से बोलेगा हमने शादी कर ली, अब हम हस्बैंड वाइफ हैं, तो समाज क्या बोलेगा? Oh, so cute, that's adorable, वो सबको खेल लगता है. Now when you're part of the gay community, it's not illegal. So tomorrow, if I find a beautiful boy who I want to get married, मैं शादी कर लेता हूँ, वो illegal नहीं है. The problem is it won't be recognized by the law. So actually speaking, मोटा मोटा क्या हो गया? If tomorrow, if I go out and marry a boy, which is also marriages that have happened, there was the Kerala wedding which everyone has spoken about and stuff. But the fact is, वो घूम फिर के ना, we feel like, अच्छा they say, oh, so sweet, adorable, but it doesn't really mean anything. But चलो, तुम खुश रहो. It feels like it's a little bone that is being thrown to us, just to sort of pacify us. So that's what it actually feels like. Now, on the other hand, when they're doing this conversation, first of all, I have to say there's a huge difference between 2018 in the same chat versus today. I have to say, Mr. Jha, जो नैरेटिव है, जो आप लोग सोचते हैं, जो कोर्ट रूम्स में सोचते हैं और जो बाहर सोचते हैं, जो बहुत अच्छी बात है, और मैं सच बताता हूँ, मैं एंड यू नो आई हैव नो प्रॉब्लम विद पीपल बिकॉज आई फील लाइक आई थिंक देयर सेंसिटाइजेशन हैज टू कम फ्रॉम पीपल लाइक मी बिकॉज द ओल्डर जनरेशन आई अंडरस्टैंड सर. आपके टाइम पे जो चीज इलीगल थी, आपका तो पूरा माइंड फ्रेम ऐसे तो गलत है. अब चीजें बदल रही है. द डिफरेंस इन द कॉन्वर्सेशन बिटवीन 2018 एंड 2021 टुडे इज, जब आप ये चीजें बोल रहे हैं, do you know how many people are probably watching you and thinking, oh my God, I hope to God that people in power don't think like this? Because a lot of the conditioning changed when the legal system popped into place and said, we owe an apology. तो आप जो बोल रहे हैं डिजीज बना, वैक्सीन बननी चाहिए, पर वैक्सीन ना इग्नोरेंस के लिए बननी चाहिए, वो मैं सबको शॉर्ट फ्री में दिलवाऊंगा.
Okay. I have 1 minute, Paras. You haven't answered my question, or maybe you have, and
Paras.
Subhash ji, एक second जरा रुक जाइए. Paras, so you're telling me that you're not happy with this, with the turn that the debate has taken right now about possibly, having a mechanism to give social security to gay couples, but not marriage. You're saying marriage has to be the ultimate end to this lawsuit.
It can't be conditional. If we're talking about equality, I was laughing and saying, if the LGBTQ people are not really full citizens, हमारे tax slab आधा कर दो. बाकी चीजों में तो we are full citizens. For all our dharma, karma, if tomorrow there is a war, I'm a Fauji child, we would have done all of this. Why is it that you have the second class treatment for things that we have to whatever? Fine, make some LGBTQ tax if you're somebody, whatever. I'm not saying I'll do it. I'm saying, but then if you're treating us for everything as a full citizen, what I mean to say is we don't want to compromise today because if ये पूरा नहीं हुआ ना, आधा हो जाएगा. It'll be neither here nor there. I want to fight this full fight because otherwise it will stay a bone. So I'm not saying I'm unhappy or happy. Look, I still have a lot of faith in this country and what we're doing. We are one of the countries which recognizes third gender, which is one of the handful of countries, right? The fact that this conversation is happening itself, it may happen now, it may not happen now. It's still a step forward. It's a big step forward. But I don't want to agree to a compromise.
Okay. We'll leave it there for the moment. Subhash ji, thank you very much. Paras, good to see you on the show. Thank you very much. I hope you can keep joining us because the debate in the Supreme Court is not ending anytime soon. We know that. We'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. And thanks to all our viewers for joining in and tuning in as well. Afrida is up next with all the top stories at the top of 9. Do stay with us.